Start with the easy questions.
Just near Bath.
Just need some box. We actually used it for one of the lyrics. It's the track we wrote.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit of music over the previous decade, and we hadn't really packaged anything up. Didn't really do any push to finish anything off. So as we got to our 40th birthday, we decided we're actually going to a recording studio. We actually started with the idea of just see if we go on a tour, because since John had heard about the Gabriel setting up around about Soul Time, mid-80s, we decided that we'd love to go there and see what it's like. The more we drilled into it, the more it was, you can't get a tour of the real world. However, we investigated how much it would cost us to get in for a day or two, and I thought, oh God, that's expensive. But they just opened one of their outbuildings out for as a kind of practice studios basically, so I thought, that's a bit more doable, let's go and do that. So we'd booked that with a proviso that we can do a few things in there, record some ambient audio and stuff, and then see if we could sneak in and get a tour while we were there anyway. So about a month before we were due to go, got an email from the studio manager saying, could you move your dates? And I'm like, no, we've got everything set up. We'd done about 6 months prep, that kind of thing, so we'd everything kind of lined up. Even though it was a kind of so-called practice studios, they still had a recording set up there, so we were going to do some drum stuff, maybe some live guitar stuff and that kind of thing, so that was the premise. And when it got to a certain point, I said, we got this email, you can't, so we've got holidays booked, we've got everything prepped up, this is the window we've got before we need to go summer holidays with the family and all that sort of stuff. So she came back and went, okay, we can't give you the rooms you've booked because someone else has got it. Turned out that Arctic Monkeys had block booked it. So even though they weren't there, they just had more money than sense and went, can't be bothered moving a gear, let's block the whole thing out. And they're like, where do you booked? So we got another email going, there's a link, would you be happy to use that for a couple of days? And I fell off my chair. So they gave us the wood room. They were like, oh my God, on the phone to John, check this out. And he went, they're going to give us that. And I went, yeah. I said, for the same price. They went, yeah.
We reluctantly
Okay, then. And it had a mini grand piano and Hammond organ. And we're like, the salt. And also, he said, is there anything else you would like before you come down? And we're like, nice to have a drum kit. And I went, well, Jed, Peter's drummer's got a kit that he'll sometimes rent out. You fancy that? John's like that.
Jed Lynch.
So it was like 3 bells. Hey. So that was kind of how it all started and really took off, and the rest is now, unfortunately, history. That was over 14 years ago, 13, 14 years ago.
Because at the time, it wasn't Erum Nim 3. At the time, it was Satori.
We were on the cusp, on the cusp.
And it was like, we need to change something.
Nim 3, yeah.
And that was the redirection.
It's Destiny, John, wasn't
Get down.
The question's why
Very
not? Why
early.
would you not want to go there?
The Real World is the place that Peter Gabriel created. Didn't record So there, but he got the money from So and
That's what he did with it.
put it into something. The setup of it and the ambience, the feeling that's there, tremendous.
The history as
We
well.
really just wanted to see it. You know, at that
Yeah.
time there was so many other amazing albums we've done since then.
Mm-hmm.
Even people recorded there that you don't even know about it, and then these days through YouTube and more things going up, and you realise that some of your other favourite artists have recorded there over the years as well. You know, they just haven't mentioned it.
Yeah. She's got a nice little writing room, called it. She's out the back, like. So I think
It's in the wee woods.
it's in the garden, yeah, and that's gorgeous. It's sitting there and you go, wow, this is. You can just sit here and just write for 24/7.
For me, Ryuichi Sakamoto is probably my favourite musician of all time, but heavily influenced by the music from Japan and subsequent solo albums that the guys have done over the years. Definitely my inspiration. Ryuichi Sakamoto's piano playing and the emotion that he played and the chord structures that he played, and anybody that's ever seen Ryuichi Sakamoto playing live, just sitting playing the piano for 2 hours, you're taken away somewhere else and you're totally mesmerised for 2 hours sitting watching this guy playing a piano. It's just incredible.
I've quite a few. A lot of the 80s stuff, but you know, Peter Gabriel, Prince, those kind of people just totally blow it. They're all quality musicianship, especially Prince. The variety Prince did was unbelievable. But Peter Gabriel as well, vocals, his structures of the rhythms. You know, like the Manu Katché drummer, superb. Stuart Copeland, the Police. Oh, Police were sort of late 70s, so I really didn't catch the early stuff. But all the 80s stuff, it was more to do with the rhythms and driving rhythms, like Adamant and Burundi. Those kind of things really made a big influence. And that's why I started drumming. Maybe Blondie as well, but that was just maybe because it was Blondie. But again, superb drummer, Glenn Burke, tremendous.
Some of the influences with John, me and John obviously known each other since we were tiny tots, one way or another. We musically got together as teenagers, and John was wheeling drums and I was doing nothing but listening to Japan stuff, to be honest, at that point. And then got a bass when I was about 15, 16. Started learning how to play that. Really into McCarn, Pino Palladino, and there's some really good bass on it. Really loved getting into the instrument at that time, and then from there on in, it's never been about learning other people's stuff really, you know. To get the rudiments is more a case of like, what could we do from ourselves, what could we do. I'm going to say like self-inspiration, more a case of I want to do something different that nobody else has been doing. Maybe you're influenced or unconsciously or consciously being influenced by things you're hearing, but we don't go, oh, we're going to do a track that sounds like this, we're going to do a track that sounds like that. We're going to go, maybe start playing around with an idea and, well, that sounds really good, let's go with that. I mean, there's other musical influences, David Thorne, really inspirational, amazing guitarist.
Fripp and what
Aye.
was some of his work.
Yeah. So, well, none of us are guitarists to kick off with. We'll kind of give it a go, and you know, it's sometimes coming at it without having that
Guitar
real
head.
technique. You know, you can come up with some interesting ideas, and obviously machines like this these days, you know, your editing is your friend, and you can take out the bad bits and leave in the good bits. So you can get somewhere you never could way back in the day with a 4-track or something like that. So a good start.
Yeah.
Probably 89, 90, 91 at that time with 4-track.
But the same stuff we did in the 4-track, we do now, where it's more about the soundscapes you produce rather than, well, there's some guitar chords or there's something it's always like layering and getting an atmosphere and an ambience going.
120.
Eh?
120.
No, maybe 112.
112. Let's do 112 then.
Just make sure this is
I was never interested in anybody else's stuff or playing covers. It just never appealed to me, and all I wanted to do was to create music that I would listen to myself. And I was in a band playing music that I would never ever buy. And eventually I thought, I'm just wasting my time doing this 3-4 nights a week in gigs and whatever. Just thought I'd never buy this, so how can I try and make one that I'm passionate about? And just so I stopped for 20 plus years. I think I was totally blown away because I remember saying to my wife, I'm going through to see these guys because if nothing else I can go and prove to them that I can't play and I'm more passionate about music than what I am ability wise. And I said to her, I'll probably be back about 4 o'clock, and this was about, I don't know, 11 o'clock, and I did get back at 4 o'clock, but it was 4 o'clock in the morning, not 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think I was totally blown away by the technology. I felt at my depth with the technology, but writing and record with these guys, they make you feel totally at ease. I'd never played with anybody else, either just jamming, or I'd never done anything for 20 years, but I had really wanted to. But again, life and comes along and work and things like that and family, and it just kind of got put in the back burner. Still went to my gigs, still bought music, and then just bumped into these guys, and I think I thought to myself, yeah, at some point I'll realise how poor I am. And I still say that, and every time I come through, it's always a pleasure. And I don't think there's been one time that I've not come through that we've not done something creative. And I think the day that they realise how poor I am is the day they might go, yeah, we've not created anything for a few visits now. So, but I certainly enjoy
maybe
it.
the day realises how bad we are. He's our musical hero in the band. He's our Alan Wilder.
I don't know so much about that.
See when we saw you go on a keyboard and you were using more than 2 fingers, you were
a
a keeper.
I was in.
That was more than 2 fingers in the one hand.
Yeah, there you
None.
go.
Time though that we're not actually talking much.
No.
We'll sit and either I've got a track going or we're putting some sounds together, and we just turn around and go, right, okay, that sounds great, let's go. And you just feel it rather than having to chat about it.
Yeah, I mean, one of our more recent albums, Leap, was done one day. All the core tracks were done in one session, which is absolutely incredible.
Over 8 hours.
Aye.
I think we've come up with 8 ideas, and it was almost like we'd
Almost everyone was a winner.
yeah, well, we recorded a piece of music, and it was right next. Right, let's go again. And it was, we kept looking at each other and going, what's going on
This
here?
is going well, let's go.
Let's go again, and let's keep going. Then I think eventually it was about 9 o'clock or something, and we went, right, okay, look, that's a wrap for today.
We'll run out.
There's a lot of good things in there, and I think we didn't want to kind of keep going and then just let it tail off. But it was quite probably the most creative day in music I've ever had anyway.
So those 20 odd years of practicing, listening to music,
yeah,
that paid off.
all just came out in those fingers,
That's it.
those sounds.
So yeah, basically we've got it set up. We've got a drum area, we've got a guitar area, got a synths area, and they kind of can be cross-pollinated. Let's say you can send signals from one mix into another, and then multi-interface. So it gives you loads of flexibility to jam stuff down, but then still produce it rather than having been mashed into just one mixer, and then you're kind of stuck with what you've got. So, you know, not everybody gets everything perfect all the time, but again, with magic technology these days, it allows you to shape things, change things, put things out, add things in. You know, it's all kind of old hat to everybody now, but it's a massive change to what you used to be able to do, and just everything can flow a little better. We don't spend a lot of time tweaking things and making things perfect at the time, you know. I don't mind doing some of that. John takes his share at it. Stuart doesn't bother.
I just
draw
draw diagrams.
sways and stuff like that, which is fine, you know. So, but it gets the job done eventually, you know. And we have been enormously productive since Stuart joined. You know. an album that was kind of nearly finished, and we kind of pushed on. Was the last year we did that last week or something like that? We pushed it to get it finally complete as a kind of almost 10-year revisited thing, but it was 90% complete, but never really finally pushed out the door.
It was mastered.
Aye, so that was that cool again, John?
Arab Spring.
Arab Spring, yeah. So it was again the 10th anniversary of the events of the Arab Spring, so we thought we might as well get that pushed finally out in the whatever do you call it these days?
The ether. Isn't it?
It's good word to say.
Big White World.
In the band camp. So I mean that was one of those kind of things where we'd written a lot of music. I think maybe when we come back for a while we did a few of those, because we were on a bit of flow at that time and using this lovely machine V-Synth for a lot of stuff as a kind of core platform, and that was a bit more kind of groove based, but also taking some samples. So just at the time that YouTube was kind of not in its infancy, but starting to grow a bit, and there was some interesting material that we could delve into, and especially from news reports at the time. So all the samples, even though it was a 10-year anniversary type thing, it was all samples that were pretty much taken from around about that time, you know, the people that were involved in the events.
Well, I started off that first track, The Spark, which was the sort of the way that the Arab Spring had started, and that was a bit quite emotional, because Frank had found an interview with a doctor on YouTube that we used and we can never find again.
You might have taken it down because it was just too
Emotional.
painful.
Yeah, yeah. But it was painful and emotional, and you could say, right, this is something we could really use in the music.
I mean, something that we've actually wanted to do for ages and ages, to incorporate the outboard gear into our setup, which is quite difficult without throwing an absolute shed of the cash at it. Eventually technology's caught up with our aspirations. We upgraded this just before lockdown started running, and just in lockdown. So that's allowed us to send stuff more easily out of the box and then through here, and we could kind of do it. Really difficult. Now it's literally plug a couple of things in. The box motor interface that we've got is more forgiving of that. It allows you to do things in and out. You get a couple of wonderful Roland historic effects units in the early 80s, one of which
SDE2000.
SDE2000, yeah, one of which actually belonged to Japan. And it was so good, we decided we were buying another one. So John did his eBay thing and found a partner for it. So yeah, it was, and we use that all the time now. It adds such a bit of clarity, but also it really builds the sound out, you know, and it gives it that studio polish. Wow, that sounds like you've been in a real high-end studio. And again, when we're doing things like use some of these kind of older effects units to do some looping, so while we might have a track, oh, that sounds kind of good, one of it would sound like if you actually looped it into a longer piece and brought it in as an atmosphere and played about with it a bit, and it allows you to do things that are different to the VSTs that we've got as well. So it's always that kind of striking the balance between just messing about with stuff for the sake of messing about with stuff to something that lifts the track, changes it, brings it in a different area. That sounds absolutely lovely. So we're going to jump onto the Moog style filter. So that's already a bit more aggressive. A bit more drive in there. And then jumping onto the Oberheim filter until it back to fully closed again, and then you'll hear that. And you get quite bombastic with this. So there's a band pass mode on it, which is just mad. So it completely changes the character. A bit more glitchy, a bit more.
I didn't visit very often.
No.
I know
There was
that.
a reason for that.
I didn't visit very often, but it's great being back.
We did a good few Teams calls, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or, what do you call them? Zoom calls.
Listening nights.
Listening
and
nights, but that, yeah.
Went through a few of that. Sitting looking at the tracks that we'd created before lockdown and say, right, what do we need to do to finish this one? Do we like it? Do we park it? Do we hit the big delete button and it goes in the recycle bin, or what we're going to do? So we did a bit of that.
Sifting through the current material, yeah. I mean, the Machine.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
just, yeah.
The lockdown
That was the
album.
album that really came out of lockdown for us, and it gave us a lot more time, because let's face it, nobody was doing anything else. You get bored sitting watching the TV, you know. John had a very decent setup in the house anyway, so again, it's almost like the stuff that we do at the weekends had been kind of pulled into like midweeks as well. I wasn't off very much, if at all, during that period. I was working from home, and then I ended up back on site under special license almost. John
I was furloughed for that.
John was furloughed
That's it.
for a bit, so I'm getting this stuff coming through as I'm going to work. Going, I've done this yesterday. I did 3 tracks in one day. And I'm like, oh my god, you're getting inundated with this stuff. So, if anything, it gave us a boost. You know, it gave us a bit more time and space to work that up. So after like, I'm terrible with dates. I'm sure everybody's like that post-COVID. It's like, I don't remember what year it was. It was just like one big long
Roller
condensed
coaster,
period.
yeah.
Aye. So I mean,
So we still continued making music. It just,
oh, and if anything, I mean, the material that we were looking at the time was a bit kind of
Dark.
The last time something so important has happened was maybe 3.5 billion years ago, when life was invented. which within a few 100,000 years is going to cover the entire galaxy.
One of the things that's hard about finishing off an album to get it out, and I think that's probably why we hadn't been doing it for a while, is it gets a bit less music and more technical. And it's hard. It really is hard, and it's long.
It's got a bit easier. I mean, we upgraded
it has now, but
before COVID, so it used to be a real pain, and it was kind of that's why we just pushed back to the guys and saying, like, I'm not changing that, and they go, yeah, but it just needs a wee tweak here and needs a wee tweak there, and I'm like, yeah, it might just be a wee tweak for you, but I've got to go back 3 versions, change that, remaster it, turn it into another kind of pseudo 4-track, and then remaster it.
It's just like the track we're talking about when I walked through the door tonight. I said, oh no, I want to change that, the piano's not right, and a few sharp things going on.
But with our new upgraded boosted machine, I don't have to go through those steps anymore. It's powerful enough to just leave that in the one environment and just do it once. So that's not so much a ball ache anymore. So, you know, we can kind of leave it to the last minute, but it's not a good idea.
But so yeah, when you're finishing one album off, but we did learn this fact that we will also then try and sort of give ourselves a treat by finishing stuff off, but don't spend the whole night doing that. You do a couple of hours and then go, right, let's...
Sales admin,
yeah.
1 hour's music.
Yeah, so...
it's a wee treat.
Just leave that time, get a couple of drinks down, so it's nice and flows a bit better. But it works, it does work.
Because I think we try to take advantage if I come through, that we're not spending time mixing, although me and Frank sometimes disappear away for a coffee or a drink through the house and leave John but to do his magic stuff, but we try and take advantage of the fact that I'm not here as frequently as I'd like to be, so when I do come through, it's all about the ideas. It's about the ideas, it's about what we're trying to do, and then I kind of drift away into the distance again, and as I said earlier on, there's a couple of bit of fairy dust and texture tank dust put on tracks, and all of a sudden it's like, wow.
But all that's coming second nature now. The fact that when we're doing a track, we'll be sitting there and we would sit, look at each other and go, what does it need, and we'll come up with something. But there's quite a few times we're going like, what does it need? It's like, Stuart, leave it, let's put it, bang that. And he comes in, there's a couple of tracks to do. Because you start to listen and go, not because he brings a different type of musicality. Yeah, when we're playing stuff, you listen to a line that's getting done, you go, I would never have done that. Never thought of doing that. It's beautiful, but I would have never went that way.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
John, I love you.
staged.
See when you leave it.
All we do is rip the
See that
piss.
bass line?
I love the way he plays keyboards, but he's always unplugged. Hey!
John, you were supposed to know.
We'll take it out in the mix later.
I have to truthfully say, not once have we actually ever done that.
No,
Yeah, I've not.
maybe twice or 3 times.
But not once!
The absolute classic was a time where, and this feeds into the real world one, where I was upstairs in the control room, talking to the engineer, Robin. What's Robin's name again? Anyway, we'll look it up. Anyway, so talking to Robin, and John was down. I think it was at Hammond or no, it was piano. You were doing piano, and I'd been annoying him so much that I forgot to press the record button, and John had done this whole 8-9 minute piece, you know, and the look of horror on the guy's face when he went, I haven't recorded that. We actually do have that on video. Where I'm like,
I think you
yeah,
should have
Robin,
come.
you better let me tell him about that rather than you.
You should have complained. You might have got another free day as compensation.
He would have got the sack.
Oh,
you know,
I
I
bet.
mean, he'd done like film scores and everything, and then he was getting the sack for no pressing the record button. He had one job, you know. So I was like, you better let me tell John about that, you know. So anyway, it goes on the talk back button. I went, John, yes, that was pretty good. You know, I think you're kind of getting the feel for that there. So
if you
can we just do
it
that kind of once more, and kind of stay in that area where you were, kind of 4 or 5 minutes. And you hear the pissed offness in his voice, you know, kind of, right, okay, right, I'll give it another go. And you see Robin like, well done, big man. I thought I was getting my jotters there.
We'll get a jail free card.
Don't worry about it so much.
But went to Newcastle for my 50th birthday. Went to see a guy called Stephen Wilson, and John had says to me, said that he was going to the gig. So I got to the gig and sent him a message on Messenger. Are you here? And I said, yeah, I'm in row whatever. He goes, I'm 3 rows in front of Stephen Wilson. I'll stand up and give you a wave. I said, well, I'll do the same. So I stood up and gave him a wave. So after the gig, we kind of, how you getting on, John? Nice to meet you, long last. And it was literally, the conversation only lasted the time it took to walk up the aisle to the back of the hall. Right, John, really nice to meet you. Maybe bump into you again sometime soon at another gig, and if we went into the distance. Just not even a 5-minute conversation.
I've met John 5 times, and that's as much conversations I've had with him.
Because
He's a quiet man.
But he's a very quiet guy.
we're us chatting. I mean, I phone him sometimes on the way home from work and chat to him on the way home. So,
Maybe it's just me, you know.
no.
I thought I'd have to get dressed as an ice cream.
So that's how I ended up chatting to John, and then the next time I met John was at a Blue Nile gathering at the Orran Moor in 2016, and John happened to go there. He was on his own, I was on my own. It was really quite funny because my wife had says to me, you know, so tomorrow night you're going to Glasgow, yeah, and you're going to the Blue Nile. I says, no, it's a Blue Nile Facebook group. And she was right, okay. So the Blue Nile aren't going to be there performing. I says, no, it's split up years ago. Right, okay. So wait a minute, so who else is going that I know? Well, the guy John that I met at Stephen Wilson back in January. Right, so what you're telling me as a 50-year-old man, you're telling me that you're going on a blind date with 148 other people. How would you feel if I says I was going to do that, or your daughter or son said that? And I says, you're absolutely spot on. In the 21st century, it's really weird that as a 50-year-old man you're actually going to go into a room with a bunch of strangers. But went in there, and the guy I was sitting next to was for California. Another guy for Belfast, and there was 3 other women at the table, as well as John sitting next to me, and nobody was told where to go and sit. And Paul Buchanan for the Blue Nile actually did turn up that night and went round every single table saying hello and got his picture taken, and has repeated that again since. And so has PJ, the keyboard player at the Blue Nile. He's done the same, and it's so much so that he was buying the drinks in a pub in Glasgow. Was it Corinthians or something? Doesn't matter, but that's where we ended up just a few months back there. But then the funny story is that I'm sitting here talking to this guy for California, and sitting next to him, and he goes, oh, how do you know John? So I mentioned Stephen Wilson. He goes, oh, Porcupine Tree, Stephen Wilson, I quite like that. And then he started asking questions too. I says, I'm a huge David Sylvian fan. And he started talking about different albums that David Sylvian done, and I was like, what the hell? This guy knows his stuff. And then I found out later on that actually Michael actually produces music himself. I've actually got a couple of his albums. It's not too dissimilar to the kind of stuff we do. So again,
But he sells his albums.
I can't remember how he pronounces it, but it goes under, is it Arachi or something like that, or something like that anyway. But it just shows you how kind of sometimes social media and Facebook can bring people together rather than create this kind of weird situation. So Law and More again is going to be on in October, the end of October. Again, it's going to be the third gathering of Blue Nile fans. But that first one, people came from California, Japan, Australia, Canada, South Carolina, all over the world, Germany, Holland, Belgium, all to Law and More on a Friday night in October 2016. For me, it's easy. Formula One. I'm a huge Formula One fan. I have been since I was 10 years old. I have to see the races live. Missed very few races in a season. And my team's McLaren, more than any other team.
Is that because of Malcolm?
No, it's Malcolm. No, well, I ended up in. I was a 10-year-old guy fascinated with Formula One, and Nicky Lauda and James Hunt were racing in Japan, and it just so happened to be the British driver was James Hunt, and he drove an orange McLaren, and I just wanted him to win just because he was British, no for any other reason, and then I've just followed the McLaren team ever since. It's like having a favourite football team. You know, you pick your team no matter what the outcome of the result is, and you just stick with your team. So yeah, I'm a big Formula One fan.
My other passion's visual, so video making. Other than that, it's music. I do a lot of stuff with my cousin. He's quite talented.
Would we know him?
What kind of
You've
things
seen him
has he
about.
done?
He's done quite a bit.
Is it?
There's a lot of sort of 40-hour film projects. He's a writer, he's a very talented writer.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah.
Because you know Tommy's doing, so I don't know.
I'll introduce you.
CFC.
There's a lot of stuff. It's either on just corner of shot or it's behind the camera here. Football music. That's my life.
You get something in order.
Yeah. So Celtic and Dortmund. In fact, going to Dortmund, Schalke. Boys' first visit to Westfalenstadion a couple of weeks today. It's his 18th birthday, so it should be a good trip. It's.
I think it's the album started off just like what any other album would, where we kind of get in the room here and we just start producing some music and see where it goes. And I think that's what we did with this album set.
Yeah, I mean, as I kind of mentioned earlier, during COVID we were doing a Dark Machine album, and then in parallel we were doing new tracks as well. So Dark Machine had a life of its own, but these other pieces were always there in the background that we knew were really good, really atmospheric, and again had a lot of momentum behind them. Stuart's been one of the kind of architects of longer, more expanded pieces, so where we might think 6-7 minutes, that's a stretch, Stuart's got 14-15 minutes and still going strong. So they're extended pieces to the point where we've basically formed it into 4 epochs, 4 defined albums really. So if we ever get down the vinyl route, this is 4 double albums. Or sorry, 4 distinct pieces of vinyl. It's probably the way to put it, 2 double
So what is it?
albums.
It's a double album, triple album and a
Quadruple album. Did you get them?
It's a box
That's
set.
what we'd have to do.
box set. It's a box set.
Box set.
So we've released the first of those first epoch, was it called?
Epoch 1, Lost Culture.
Lost Culture. So that's the start. The other, with the exception of one main edit, the other three are in the box, ready to go. So if Stuart gives me these notes, we can get that all boxed off,
That's true.
and then we can move on with the many other pieces we've got moving forward into 2022. So this is all stuff that pretty much we finished towards the turn of the year, and we're very happy and pleased to get out now.
So one's already out, Epoch 1. The next 3 will be over the next couple of months being released. Because they stand alone individually, they stand up, but as collectively they're good listens. That's all I tell you, the programmes that we were watching on the TV in the last 2 years, and they're quite sci-fi type fans and quite like to dig and things and look at not just what the mainstream say about things, but what other explanations there's for things.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been reading a book in my teens, so I think I gave to John Livery back, a big theme there over the years, and it was called...
We'll get it back if he's not read it.
Yeah, it was called Worlds in Collision. So, I'd grown up in a fairly religious family. Didn't quite get it when I was getting my teens. I was just kind of like, it just seemed a bit disconnected and random, and especially Old Testament stuff. I was just kind of like, what are they going on about? And then I read this book. It actually turned out to be that it was actually explained in one of these Discovery Channel programs. The basis is from a Russian author who was basically saying, like, instead of these Old Testament stories just being these myths and random events, what if they were actually related to cosmological events? Well, ringing a big bell, like, okay, if you actually think of like the reason for some of these kind of strange things, strange lights in the sky, strange things that were going on in the Old Testament, what if they actually were related and they were real and actually did happen, and there was a scientific explanation for it? So that'd be kind of like way in the back of your head at some point when reading that as a teenager, and then the last 2-3 years building a lot of stuff online, as we tend to do, YouTube and other sources,
Other media outlets.
Yeah, and basically it's that kind of whole thing of, do the scientists know what they think they know? Do they make a lot of stuff up? There's a lot of conjecture in there. The answer is yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I've not got a clue. But it's the accepted book answer. It's easy to teach. It's easy to give somebody a degree in, and then you just push them out into the world, and the university machine just churns on. It's become a lot more cynical education in the last 30-40 years. You know, it's all about churning out people, making their money. If you look at some of the best buildings in Glasgow, for example, the most building that's been done in Glasgow over the last 20-25 years has all been education establishments, you know. So I think it's become less about education and more about churning out the machine. So there's loads of different elements to that, but basically it's kind of thinking, look at the future, look at the past. Is everything new? Is there stuff that's been happening for years that we suddenly come aware of? When I say years, I mean like epochs, and that's why we're breaking stuff down to epochs. Some of the discoveries that were made, some of the archaeological discoveries, it's beyond explanation with just modern scientific method. I mean, it's just so out of place. Artifacts is one of these programs. You're like, it blows your mind. It's like a highly engineered piece of, like a very engineered spring or coil 10-15,000 years ago. Please explain. We can't explain. We'll just put it in a Tupperware box in the museum and we'll hide it away because we don't know how to explain that. Found it under mammoth bones. Don't know what to do with that. You know. So there's weird things there. You know. Literally, you see the museum creators going, if we don't put it in display, we don't explain it. So it's more kind of just trying to prod that a bit and go, look. what you
think
think
about
you
it.
know, or what your government's telling you, or it might not be the truth, you know. I've always been interested in blowing away the smoke and going, what's the reality? What can you prove? What can you show? So maybe exploring some themes. We're not taking it all on face value or lock, stock and barrel, but they're interesting themes to explore. Always been interested in Native Americans, and for some reason just some part of my being, my consciousness is maybe it's early education or whatever. Always been interested in Native Americans, and turns out they're quite tuned into certainly alien sightings and strange lights in the sky that they've seen throughout their oral history, and
Connections.
cave drawings or hieroglyphs for time immemorial. Because those sightings keep happening, and they take them as second nature and go, it's been happening to us for donkeys years, like hundreds and hundreds of years, and we just don't look up. So that's where I've kind of come at it from.
And then we all just add in our own bits and pieces. I think from me as a young kid, there were lots of science fiction, unexplained. I think it was that The Unexplained was a publication way back that I got. I was like, this is people spontaneously combusting their alien sightings or alien abductions, all the things that are at that time were then publishing a sort of a side publication, not taken seriously. But then when you start looking at it, there is hard evidence, and there's technology, and as science is able to analyse things more and more questions arise about things that are thought to be just a myth or a story, like the beginnings of things, giants, all these things that can be explained, but if they are explained, it comes to that sort of Sherlock Holmes thing. If you take away what can't be the truth sayer, but you go, well, it's not, that can't happen. Why? Because not got a reason why, but it's just can't.
Shut up and don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, let's move on. So there's a lot of things there that you can say about that. It's when you start to look at it, you watch something, you look for the surface of it, and you go ask a few questions. But those questions then always lead to more and more questions, and then it became bigger and bigger. And I think that's the fact when we started pulling together some tracks to make a collective. It was growing and growing because they were fitting together. There's more ideas, there's more things that we wanted to put in to highlight things, so it became larger and larger. And I think at some point we're going, right, this needs to stop. This needs to be done.
Draw a line
There,
here.
let's move on.
And I don't think we consciously sit there saying, right, okay, now we're going to make a 9 Inch Nails inspired album, and now we're going to do an ambient album. I think we just make music, and then we kind of see where it kind of fits best.
Yeah.
And this was just a theme that just kept reoccurring, that we kept on. And I think it was a nice departure from the Dark Machine album as well, where
Yeah.
it was kind of, okay, we've done that bit, but do you know what, there's got this whole collection of tracks here that we need to finish off, and there's a need to finish them off. I think that comes through quite strongly as well. We need to get this collection of songs or tracks complete, because they're not really songs, they're just pieces of music.
Yeah.
We need to get this.
There's a lot of kind of really lovely atmospheres in there, you know, and again, as with a lot of their music, they start from essentially, Poseidon wants to talk as well.
Like keyboard track.
The keyboard stand too. Float.
I've not been used for ages. You're going to kick in and do something. Yeah, sorry, I was saying that there's a lot of really nice atmospheres in there. Normally generated through like a single session or an improvisation or something like that, you know. And those tend to be the most successful pieces, really, where everybody gets into the atmosphere, they latch on and go, oh, that sounds good, let's go with that, and then we don't talk anymore. And the machines get switched on, the record button gets pressed, and off we go. We'll do a bit of post-treatment just to kind of maybe just tie things together and make it sound like a as if it's in one space or whatever, or multiple spaces. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and then at a certain point, I think, well, maybe that could do a sample here or a sample there, and that's kind of how the tracks have all went to being a finished piece. But we don't spend a huge amount of time reworking them. Maybe, if anything, we cut bits, you know, just to kind of reveal the best parts of those layers, you know. And
So we
stuff like
can,
that.
so we can hear Stuart's keyboard.
Most of the time, he's a quiet lad.
Led a quiet life.
That's it.
Ka-ching.
Ist es der Stelle zu lesen, das spricht mit dem Schnee.